accounting process, okay, as such, like we already are done with the definition. We know like what is to be done. We need to record, we need to classify, we need to summarize, we need to communicate. All those things are there again, okay. But step by step, let us see this. Accounting process involves the following steps. Number one, identifying the financial transactions. We need not to explain it again. We all know this. We need to identify, as Ronak replied, whether it is of financial nature or not, whether this has to be recorded or not. That is the first step in the accounting process. When we start the numericals, this is the first thing we will be taking care of. Second, recording of the transactions in the books of accounts. The books of accounts are well known to you. It can be journal or it will be the subsidiary books. Both are original books of accounts. Both the books cannot appear simultaneously. Please take care of that. Okay, journal or books of original entry, right? Subsidiary books, we know that it's cash book, purchase book, sales book, purchase return, sales return, and journal proper. So these are the various books. So first you identify, then you have the recording in the books of accounts, either journal or subsidiary books. Then is the classifying the transactions, the third step. We know like classification is done with the help of the ledger. Ledger is called the book of accounts, in which the various accounts are prepared. Mohan, Sohan, Ram, Sham, laptop, furniture, electricity expenses, stationery. Any account you talk about, all the accounts are prepared in the ledger, and this is how we classify. Why it is termed as classification? Because the transactions of similar nature or related to one head are recorded at one place. As I showed you the example yesterday, the Mohan account here 50 and 30, the difference is 20. That way, like the ledger process goes on. Okay, very interesting, very simple process once you start with the numericals. After the classification, the summarizing is to be done. Summarizing is done with the help of the trial balance and the financial statements. Okay, trial balance will help us to know the arithmetical accuracy. People ask me, sir, compulsory होता है trial balance बनाना? नहीं. But without trial balance, एक और बात होती है कि we can't prepare the financial statements. Okay, that is trading P&L and balance sheet. So for having the final amount of each and every ledger account, we need to have the trial balance. As I told you, with the help of trial balance, we are able to know the arithmetical accuracy, the only objective of trial balance, preparing trial balance. Arithmetical accuracy ka matlab, we are just sure that the amount which has been debited, the same amount has been credited. That is what is about the arithmetical accuracy. There is no discrimination between the amounts. We have to ensure that whatever the amount has been debited, the equal amount has to be credited. Okay, that is what is the surety we get by preparing the trial balance. And by trading and with the help of trading and P&L and balance sheet, we come to know about the operating performance and the financial performance of the business entity. After summarizing, it is to have the analysis and interpretation, and finally the communication of the summarized data to the users. So this is what is the accounting process. The accounting process is also termed as accounting cycle. Okay, you need to remember this, keeping in mind the 1-marker questions. Instead of accounting process सबको याद होता है. When it comes to accounting cycle, भूल जाते हैं. Okay, तो 1-marker के point of view, this question will be important. Now let us continue with the advantages or uses of accounting. Okay, why do we prepare this? Objectives almost advantages की तरह ही हैं. So let us see, if we have accounting with us, what are the advantages that the firm is going to have? Number 1, provides complete and systematic record. Okay, that's the most important advantage of accounting. Tell me, is it possible for anybody to memorize the transactions on daily basis? वो ऐसा बोल सकते कि चलो मैं रिकॉर्ड नहीं करूंगा, I'll try to memorize. आज मैंने मोहन को गुड्स सेल किए, मोहन ने मुझे इतने पैसे दिए, फिर मोहन ने गुड्स रिटर्न किए. 3-4 ट्रांजैक्शन के बाद ही मैं भूल जाऊंगा ना कि मोहन से मुझे पैसे लेने कितने हैं. Correct? So it is not possible for anybody to memorize all the transactions of the business entity, and for that purpose we need to have the accounting process with us. We need to do the accounting so that we have a complete and systematic record of all the business transactions with us. Okay. The volume of the transaction of business increases with the growth of the business, and it is not possible to remember all of them. Okay. So accounting keeps a complete and systematic record of all the business transactions, summarizes them to depict the true picture of the operations of the business. Summarizing करना जरूरी है so that we can come to know about the result of the business. The second point is provides information about profit or loss. Now the things are known to you. Tell me, from which account do we come to know about the profit or loss of the business entity?
Sir, trading account or profit or loss account.
हाँ, समराइजिंग में पढ़ा था ना हमने, ट्रायल बैलेंस के बाद फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स में क्या क्या आता है? ट्रेडिंग, P&L and बैलेंस शीट. That's very good. So with the help of trading and P&L account, we come to know about the net profit or net loss of the business entity. Okay, so if we have accounting, we can have this advantage. If we don't have to, we don't have this information with us. Okay, since the complete record of all the business expenses and losses and incomes and gains is kept, so profit or loss can be ascertained easily on yearly basis with the help of. This information is useful to the management and users. We know this. Third, provides information regarding the financial position. कहाँ से पता चलता है? With the help of which statement?
So the balance sheet.
Balance sheet. Okay, that's very correct. If we have the information with us, if we have the proper record with us, it is very easy to know the position of assets, liabilities, and capital by preparing balance sheet. Okay, fine. Next, facilitates comparative study. I simply know one thing: if I have to grow, I need to compare. Okay, in the business especially, even in like professional cases also, right? If I don't compare myself with others, if as a teacher even, like, okay, if I just don't look into the matters like what other teachers are doing, like how are they teaching, how are they so efficient, like why I'm not. If I don't compare, if I just feel like मैं जो कर रहा हूँ बहुत अच्छा कर रहा हूँ, so in that case I will not grow anyway. Okay, तो मैं जहाँ हूँ वहीं रुक जाऊँगा. So that's why like we need to have the comparison. So the same thing applies to the business entities also. The business entities in the like the similar field. Okay, they need to have the comparison among themselves. कि उसका अगर प्रॉफिट इतना है तो मेरा प्रॉफिट क्यों नहीं रहा, उसका बिजनेस इतना ग्रो हो रहा है तो मेरा क्यों नहीं हो रहा. I need to think over all these factors. If I don't think, I'm not into the business, right? So I need to have the comparative study. Now, comparative study of what? Of the data. कि सामने वाली कंपनी का कितना प्रॉफिट है, मेरी कंपनी का प्रॉफिट कितना हुआ है, तो I need to know that. So if I want to have the comparative study, I need to have the accounting information with me, and if I have the record with me, so it comes as an advantage to me, right? So the financial statements, that is P&L and balance sheet of 1 year, can be compared with the previous year to ascertain the progress made by the firm in comparison to previous year. Whenever you talk about the comparison, it can be the inter-firm comparison or intra-firm comparison. Inter-firm comparison is something when you just compare your records with the firm, with some other firm. That is inter-firm comparison. And intra-firm comparison is when you just compare your own records of previous year to current year, just to know like, are we able to have a control over the expenses or not? Is there any increase in sales or not? Is there any increase in the profit or not? All those questions do raise in the mind every year, right? So that is intra-firm comparison. So comparison is possible only when we have accounting data with us. Helps in taking managerial decisions. Yes, obviously, like if we have the record with us, we just can, just now I told you, like we can come to know about if the expenses are under control or not. Management would like to see that. If the profit is not increasing, what are the reasons behind that? Is it like the sales have decreased? Is it like the expenses have increased? All those factors are there. So management also needs to have the information with them so that they can just take the decision whether to have the control on the expenses or they need to work on the increase in sales, right? So all those decisions are to be taken by the management. For that purpose, the information is required and that comes in it as an advantage. Next. Helps in settlement of tax liability. That's very easy to understand. If I have my records with me, okay, if I just keep on all the expenses and all the incomes in the books of accounts, so it is easy for me to determine the income for which I need to pay the tax to the government. It may be the income tax, it may be the sales tax, it may be GST now. Facilitates in taking loan. Can anyone tell me how is this an advantage to the firm? Facilitates in taking loan.
Sir, the accounts that we prepare show the that show the profit and loss of the company, how the company is working, what's its position in the market. So if the bank sees that, or the money lender from whomsoever we are taking loan, that they can be reliable on us and like they can trust us to give loan, so that we will return them.
Correct. They have the surety, okay, because if I have to, as a banker, if I have to provide a loan to Ronak, so Ronak can just produce his books of accounts. So this is my accounts, this is the tax that I have been paying. You can just go through. So I have to ensure that whether the Ronak's company is a genuine company or not. Will that company will be able to repay the amount of loan or not? Will they be able to pay the interest regularly to me or not? For that purpose, I would like to go through the accounts of the company. Correct. So no doubt it facilitates in taking loan, right? So bankers or any other financial institutions grant a loan to the firm on the basis of the appraisal of the financial statements of the firm. That's very good, Ronak. The books are reliable, and that is why I told you, books. This is one of the reason, why I told you something about the chronological order, the date-wise. The transactions are recorded date-wise because the books of accounts can be presented, okay, as a proof in the court of law. Okay, so because we have proper books with us, so the books of accounts and the firm becomes reliable. Okay, claims against the firm by the creditors or the lenders can easily be settled in the court by showing the accounts as an evidence in the support of our arguments.
Sir, but can those books of in accounts can be taken in court, because if somebody had amended with the accounts, then it won't work as a proof, right?
If the manipulation is done, though, it can be, okay, the court will not approve that. But because अभी तो खैर online आ गया, तो online भी वो backdate तो transaction लेगा नहीं कहीं भी. And when we had the manual recording and all at that time also, okay, the proper books of accounts were maintained, right?
Yes.
So if we forget to do some entries of a day, then if we do it in the next day, so will it be considered as a manipulation of the books?
No. When you just record it the next day, so you can just have the rectified entry. We are going to learn that as that as well in the syllabus of class 11. Rectification of errors. You are talking about the error of omission. It's a mistake. We forgot to record it. Now we can do that. Next is helpful in detecting errors and frauds. Okay, so if we have a proper record, if any error do take place, we can just come to know about that. Suppose Ronak से मैंने कुछ goods purchase किए, payment वगैरह किया है, तो the accounts doesn't tally. So in that case, we can just cross check whatever the recording is done with us. So with the help of that particular recording, the errors can be detected very easily, can be rectified. Even if any employees are there, those who have been committing some frauds and all, though, those also can be taken care of if we have a proper record with us. So let us see this. If accounting information is audited by the auditor, errors and frauds committed by the clerks can be easily deducted. Okay, so that's why being a commerce student, I always say that कि हमें accounts अच्छे से पता होना चाहिए, so that this part we can take care of. Okay, we simply can't rely upon the accountant or the clerk. भैया तू जो कर रहा है वो सब सही कर रहा है. We cannot do that. And that is why at the end of the year, the books of accounts are to be audited by the auditor. Okay, ये कौन होते हैं? तो these are the CAs only. They will come and check your books. So that is the auditing process goes on. Each and every single thing is checked minutely. Okay, so that is word auditing. Okay, so because we have a proper record, so we can take the measures to minimize the errors, or to rectify the errors and to minimize the recurrence of errors and frauds. Facilitates the sale of business also. Suppose I want to sell off my business, so I need to know the net worth of the business. Net worth is all the assets and all the liabilities. Liabilities will be deducted from the assets. So I can, if I have the proper recording with me, then I can have the net worth with me of the business, worth of the business, and then I can ask the purchaser to pay me this much amount. Okay, so if proper record is there, then it can be an advantage for the sale of business as well. Okay, and accordingly, yes, this term goodwill we will be discussing in detail in class 12 basically, when we talk about the sale of business, how is this goodwill calculated? Right now I'm not discussing anything. Class 12 में पक्का बहुत डिटेल में डिस्कस करेंगे. We already have gone through the advantages, okay, and most of you remember the points also. Now it is about the limitations. Let us go through it. The first thing is, this is based on the accounting information is basically based on the concepts and the conventions. Okay, this is basically chapter number 3 we are going to learn. We are into chapter number 1 right now. Okay, chapter 3 जब आएगा तो उसमें we are going to learn something about the principles which we need to follow strictly. As I have told you, कि accounting is compared with science. Why science? Because as we have some principles we followed, so that the outcome remains the same. Okay, especially in the chemistry lab, like you all have observed that thing. So we also in accounting also we need to ensure that whether the accountant is performing his duty in Ahmedabad or Surat or in India or in US, the things should remain same. Okay, to bring the uniformity we need to follow the concepts. Now when you follow the concepts, each and every concept, there are such 14 such principles are there along with the assumptions. Okay, each and every such principle has its own limitations. Let us go through them one by one. Because the concepts are to be followed, okay, so the operating and the financial results are not realistic. Okay, since 2 or 3 days now we have been talking about the accounting, the process of accounting. By the end of the year we come to know the operating performance, we come to know about the financial performance, the result of the business entity. We do so, no doubt, we will be doing so. But because it is based on the accounting concepts and conventions, whatever the picture is shown, whatever the figures are shown with the help of these statements, it is not realistic in nature. Fixed assets. Fixed assets are valued at their historical cost, not at their market price. Okay, we need to stick to the price that is actually paid for the asset to acquire it. Say for example, this is the year 2021, okay, and 21-22. Okay, so for example, if I have purchased some asset in the year 1920 for rupees 5 lakh, so we know like the value of the rupee keeps on changing. Okay, it is not fixed, right? So point is, which value should I continue in my books? The value of the asset as on today. Say for example, instead of machinery, say for example, like I have purchased a building. Generally यही देखने को मिलता है कि if I purchased a house somewhere like or the premises or the office, okay, anywhere, building purchase किया है, तो the value of the building increases. मैंने 5 lakh में purchase किया, the value of that 5 lakh or 50 lakhs ले लो, तो 50 lakhs लेते हैं, that will sound better. 50 lakhs का जो asset मैंने purchase किया, building purchase किया in the year 21-22, now the value is 80 lakhs, right? 80 lakhs. The point is, because we follow the concept, one of the concept, going concern concept is there, historical cost concept is there. It clearly states that we need to stick to the historical cost. That means the value that I have paid to acquire it. मैंने 50 लाख पे किया था, तो बुक्स में कौन सा वैल्यू दिखाऊंगा मैं? It will be 50 lakhs only. I will never ever record the market value in the books of accounts. So because the market values of the fixed assets are not shown, how can I say that my books of accounts are true and fair? Are they showing the realistic picture? No. They are showing the amount that has been paid for the asset few years back, historical in nature. This is just one example, right? I may have another example. Yes. Similarly, a provision is kept for doubtful debts. Okay, that is based on the principle of conservatism. This is another principle, very important, one of my favorite. Okay, it simply, like allows us to play a very, very safe game in the business as well. Okay, this concept asks you to provide for all probable losses. Probable losses matlab, if you just feel like in future you are going to face some losses, be well prepared in advance for that. पहले से preparation करो ना. Okay, तो पहले से कुछ provision रख दो. तो loss तो हुआ नहीं है, लेकिन हम पहले से profit को reduce कर रहे हैं. So then also the profit and loss shown by the P&L account will not reflect the true picture. Loss हुआ नहीं, पहले से हम books में लिख रहे हैं. correct? So these are the things which are totally does not allow the accounting information to be realistic in nature. Okay, fine. Second is based on personal judgment. There are some cases wherein like the personal judgment comes into picture. Like when you talk about making a provision, अभी जैसे provision for doubtful debts की बात कर रहे थे, or you talk about the charging of depreciation. Depreciation is the reduction in the value of the asset. How much value of the asset has to be reduced? Who will take that decision? That decision is basically taken by the business entity. Okay, so maybe like Ronak is also having a business entity. He is into some business. He may charge his assets depreciation at the rate of 10%. And the same asset is with me as well, but I'm deciding to charge it at 8% because it depends on the usage. Maybe the usage is more with the Ronak and less usage is with me, okay, in my business. So I'll decide it in my own way. So wherever the personal judgment comes into picture, it is always the biggest limitation of accounting information. Okay, accounts of a firm are prepared on the basis of personal judgment of the management. The method of depreciation, we have different methods. We have a separate chapter for depreciation. We'll learn that over there. Like in methods, like we have the two common methods are there: straight line method, reducing balance method. Ronak may be following straight line method. I may follow reducing balance method. So again, a personal judgment comes into picture. So that is a limitation, right? Amount of provision for doubtful debts. How much amount should I keep? If I'm having more of the bad debts with me, bad debts matlab I have some debtors with me who do not pay me the amount, like every year the case is so. Whereas Ronak has been a very good businessman, he has been taking care of all those things. Okay, so Ronak ke bad debts nahi hote hain ya kam hote hain. So who will keep a provision? I will keep a provision of more amount as compared to Ronak. Again, a personal judgment comes into picture. So wherever the personal judgment comes into picture, it is going to be a limitation of accounting information. Based on historical cost, as we have already seen in the first case, which are the values I have paid for acquiring the asset in the past, maybe 2 years back, maybe 3 years back, maybe 5 years back, I will have to continue with those values only in the books of accounts. Okay, so all the assets in the balance sheet are shown at their original cost. Historical cost बोलते हैं क्योंकि वो past का हो जाता है, इसीलिए they are not shown at the market value. Alternatively, like the adjustment for price level changes should be made, लेकिन ऐसा कोई भी books of accounts में करता नहीं है. As I told you, you just talk about your notebooks in the school, right? The notebook that you are purchasing now in class 11 maybe is costing around 60 or 70 rupees, right? The same notebook when you are in class 9 maybe costing around 50 rupees. The same notebook, the same number of pages, the same quality of the pages. So ऐसा तो क्या हो गया? The price level changes, correct? But in the books of accounts, that price level changes is not considered. That is why it is a limitation. Let's qualitative information or informations, right? Qualitative, as we were discussing about the identification and then measuring in terms of money, the transactions are to be measured in terms of money, right? So at that point of time also we have discussed the same thing. In the books of accounts, we just keep on recording those transactions which can be measured in terms of money, or the transactions which are economic in nature, or the transactions which are of financial in nature. We just record those transactions. There are some events, okay, which are qualitative based. They have a huge impact on the working of the organization. They have a huge impact on the profitability position of the company, right? But because it cannot be measured in terms of money, such events are not recorded. So that is why it is treated as one of the limitation. Okay, accounts are prepared only on the basis of quantitative financial information. So it does not provide qualitative information like goodwill of the management, employee relation, efficiency of the management, loyalty of the workers, or absenteeism of workers. All these things are really important, really affect the working of the organization. But because these are qualitative based, cannot be measured in terms of money, are not to be recorded in the books of accounts. Suffers from window dressing. This is what is the word we were talking about in the previous lecture. Window dressing. The management of the business entity may present, I don't say every business person does that, I know. Abhi to kya ho gaya hai ki it is completely online process, so it is very tough for the people to have the manipulation. Management of business entity may present the financial statement to suit their own requirements by showing more or less profit than the true and fair profit. As per the demand of the time, they just have the manipulation in their books of accounts. This can be done through window dressing by showing more or less profit than the true profit. Whenever you are asked about this term, window dressing का मतलब क्या है, तो आपको यही बोलना है. It means nothing but to show more or less profit than the actual profit. That is window dressing. How it is to be done? This is done by undervaluation of stock, treating the revenue expenditure as a capital expenditure or vice versa. Okay, this is just an example. Undervaluation of stock. What are the closing stock is there with us? The actual value of the stock may be rupees 1 lakh. But because we do not want to show that much amount of profit to the various users, so what I do is instead of 1 lakh, I show it as 90,000. अगर closing stock कम दिखाऊंगा तो profit कम हो जाएगा. मेरा फायदा है, फिलहाल तो फायदा है कि जो मैं चाहता हूँ मैं वो कर रहा हूँ. This is an example of a window dressing, right? Treating revenue expenditure as capital expenditure. Matlab, suppose I have paid for electricity. It's a revenue expenditure. Unnecessarily, what I'm showing it as a capital expenditure. Matlab, revenue expenditure है जो मेरा normal expense है, routine expense है. I'm trying to show it as an asset. Asset में ज़्यादा आएगा value. So unnecessarily my financial position, okay, which is a wrong way actually, so my financial position will look better. Depicts unrealistic information. Now I'm sure with the help of these 5 limitations, आपको ये तो समझ में आ गया होगा कि we never ever have the realistic information from the books of accounts. Actual profit of the entity can be known only when the firm is closed down and the stock is realized at the market price. Okay. ये तो है कि फर्म बंद हो रहा है, कंपनी बंद हो रहा है, तो whatever the assets are there, they are sold in the market at the market price. In the same way, like whatever the stock is there with you, even the stock is saleable in the market at the market price. Then only we can have the actual picture of the business entity. The same thing for fixed assets. But in real practice, accounts are drawn on going concern basis. So the financial statements will not reveal the realistic view of the business entity. This is the assumption, the very first assumption we are going to learn in chapter 3. Not suitable for forecasting. We are talking about the accounting information. Accounting information is not suitable for forecasting. The reason is very clear. When you talk about the accounting, it always talks about the past happenings. Whatever things have took place in the past year or the past years, we just keep on recording those things in the books of accounts. So past records, how are they going to help us for the forecasting in the future? We are never sure about the next moment, the next day, right? So isliye it's a limitation. Account provides information for the past performance. Analysis of past data is not of much use for making the future predictions.